Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Echo Aftab. In my today's class, we'll be discussing about the first law that comes under cardinal utility analysis, and here comes the law of diminishing marginal utility. Myself Aftab Bhai. So let us start with what this law is. So we'll proceed with understanding the background of this law, and then I'll take an example. After the example, we'll have the diagrammatic and tabular understanding of this law. So let us move ahead and see what this law is. The founders of cardinal utility analysis have developed two laws which occupy an important place in economic theory. And which are these two laws? The first law is law of diminishing marginal utility, and the second law is law of equi-marginal utility. So in my today's class, we are going to limit ourselves with the first law, that is law of diminishing marginal utility. For example, let us say there is a consumer. You can see a girl on the screen. She is having plate in her hand, and let us assume that she is hungry, and at her disposal the commodity that we are going to give her is gulab jamun, one of the most favorite sweet item of all the people, that is gulab jamun. So let us see what is happening over here. This consumer, this girl, has a thought process, and the moment she gets the first gulab jamun, and if she thinks of consuming the first gulab jamun, or if she consumes the first gulab jamun, the amount of satisfaction that she may get is, let us assume to be 6. So with the first unit of gulab jamun, she gets satisfaction of 6 utils. If the second gulab jamun is offered to her, she may get 4 utils of satisfaction. Similarly, by third unit, she may get 2 utils of satisfaction. By fourth unit of gulab jamun, she may get no satisfaction. And if she is forced to eat one more additional unit of gulab jamun, that is the fifth unit, she may get negative utility. So friends, what you can see over here, if she goes on increasing the consumption of gulab jamun, every additional unit of that gulab jamun will give her less and less utility. Why is this so? The reason is, at the first unit she is very hungry and her appetite is satisfied. Because of that, she feels immense satisfaction in the first unit of gulab jamun, that is, she gets 6 utils. But after the first unit, when she consumes the second unit, she may not get the same level of satisfaction as she was getting from the first unit. Her level of satisfaction reduces by additional unit. Similarly, if she proceeds, then a point will come where after consuming the fourth unit of gulab jamun, she gets no satisfaction. Her satisfaction is 0, or else you can say her utility is 0. And after that, she may go into the phase of negative utility. So what is this law telling us? The law, the title, as you see, law of diminishing marginal utility. Utility, we understood the meaning, want satisfying power of a commodity. Marginal utility, it refers to the additional utility that the consumer gets, and here it is diminishing marginal utility. As and how, according to Bolding, as the consumer increases the consumption of one particular commodity, keeping constant the consumption of all other commodities, the marginal utility that it derives from every additional unit eventually declines. So this particular definition of Bolding, I would like to put it like this. If you look at the screen, as I said, from the first unit of gulab jamun, the utility that she is getting is 6 utils. From the second unit of gulab jamun, the utility that she is getting is 4 utils. From the third unit of gulab jamun, she is getting 2 utils of utility. From the fourth unit of gulab jamun, you can see she is getting no satisfaction, 0 utility. And from the fifth unit of the gulab jamun, she is getting negative utility. Her marginal utility has declined below 0. This is what the law of diminishing marginal utility tells us about. So moving ahead with this simple example, we have tried to build the base of the law. So let us move ahead. This example of gulab jamun and the utilities that every additional gulab jamun is giving us, I would like to transform it into a table. So here comes the table. So same, first unit of gulab jamun, second unit, third unit, fourth unit and fifth units, and the respective utilities that every unit is providing. So here you can see we are having units of gulab jamun and the marginal utility. So you can see over here, when the consumer increases the consumption of gulab jamun, so from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, so there is just a second, there is increase in the consumption of gulab jamun. Consumption increases, but what is happening to the marginal utility? From 6 it has come to 4, from 4 it has come to 2. So this is what is called as diminishing marginal utility. Why diminishing? As and how the consumer increases the consumption of a commodity, the additional utility that he gets from additional unit goes on diminishing. So this is what. Then comes the next important part in this table, and that is total utility. What is total utility? Total utility, as we had studied in our cardinal utility analysis topic, what I had said, total utility, it refers to summation of all the marginal utilities. So here from the first unit of gulab jamun we are getting 6, so our total utility is 6. From the second unit of gulab jamun we are getting 4, but from 2 units, see the difference, from first unit it is 6, from second unit it is 4, from 2 units it is 6 plus 4, that is 10. Similarly from third unit it is 2, from 3 units it is 6 plus 4 plus 2, and that is 12. And from fourth unit he is not getting any satisfaction, so his total utility stays constant. And from fifth unit, as his utility has become negative, the total utility declines. So this is how the relationship between marginal utility and total utility we can see. So from first unit, total utility is 6, from second unit it is 4, from 2 units the total utility is 10, from 3 units the total utility is 12, from 4 units the total utility is 12 because the marginal utility is 0, and from the last unit his total utility reduces from 12 and it becomes 10. 12 minus 2, that is 10. So this is the tabular presentation of law of diminishing marginal utility. Moving ahead, friends, the fourth unit of gulab jamun, where the marginal utility that is derived by the consumer is 0 and the total utility is maximum, that is 12, that is the point which is called as point of satiation. So at this particular point the consumer is fully satisfied and he is not interested in any additional unit of that commodity, point of satiation. So Marshall, who has been a famous exponent of the cardinal utility analysis, has stated the law of diminishing marginal utility analysis as follows. So in the words of Marshall, what he says is, the additional benefit which a person derives from a given increase of his stock of a thing diminishes with every increase in the stock that he already has. So here we are speaking about law of diminishing marginal utility in the words of Alfred Marshall. So what is the additional benefit a person gets from increase in the stock of a thing? It will go on diminishing with every increase in the stock. So as you saw the previous example, as the stock of gulab jamun was increasing, the marginal utility from every increase in the stock was declining. That is what is law of diminishing marginal utility in the words of Alfred Marshall. Now let us see diagrammatically how this law of diminishing marginal utility can be presented. So here in the diagram, I have taken two panels, the upper panel and the lower panel. On x-axis, we will measure units of commodity x. You can say units of gulab jamun. You can say units of any particular commodity. As in our case, I have taken gulab jamun. I would like to say that this x is gulab jamun. And on the y-axis, in the first panel, we take marginal utility, and in the upper panel, we take total utility. And the total units of gulab jamun that is consumed is 5 units. So on x-axis we are having 5 units, and on y-axis the marginal utility is 0, 2, 4, 6, and the total utility in the upper panel is 6, 8, 10, 12. So this is the structure of our graph. Now let us see what is happening. If you remember the table, in the table, when that girl consumed first unit of gulab jamun, the utility that she derived from the first unit of gulab jamun was 6 utils. And at the same time, what was the total utility that she was getting from the first unit? The total utility that she was getting from the first unit was 6. So this 6th unit, I would like to call it as the initial utility. The first unit of consumption giving the initial utility. So total utility and marginal utility are same, 6 units. Now when she consumes the second unit of the gulab jamun, the marginal utility reduces. From 6 it becomes 4. And at the same time, what has happened to the total utility? So the total utility she derives from 2 units of gulab jamun has become 10. That is 6 plus 4, that is equal to 10. Now when she consumes the third unit of gulab jamun, the marginal utility she gets is 2 units. And from 3 units of gulab jamun, the total utility she gets is 12 units. So please see, focus on my words. When I am referring to marginal utility, I am speaking in terms of first, second, third. When I am speaking about total utility, I am speaking in terms of 1, 2, 3. So there is a difference. So now when the consumer consumes the fourth unit, emphasis on the number fourth unit, what is happening to her marginal utility? Her marginal utility is 0. And when she is consuming the 4 units, from all the 4 units, what is happening? She is getting the same level of satisfaction, that is 12 utils. Now if she is forced to consume the 5th unit, what will happen? Her marginal utility becomes negative. It will fall below 0, and that you can see over here. It has become minus 2. And what will happen to the total utility? The total utility declines and it becomes 10. So this is what the law of diminishing marginal utility is telling. So if you join all the locuses of marginal utility and units, we get a curve, and that curve is called as marginal utility curve. Similarly, when you join all the points of the total utility, you get a curve which initially is moving up but at a diminishing rate, and after a particular point it is becoming constant, and then it is declining, then it is reducing. This is our total utility curve. Now in this graph, friends, please focus on two things. One is the total utility is increasing, but it is not increasing at an increasing rate, but it is increasing at a diminishing rate. And the marginal utility, it is falling. Because the marginal utility is decreasing, the total utility is increasing at a diminishing rate. And after a particular point, the total utility becomes constant. Why does it become constant? Because from the fourth unit of consumption, when the consumer consumes the fourth unit, what happens to his marginal utility? His marginal utility becomes 0, and at that time his total utility is maximum. And this point, this unit 4 plays a very important role. And see here, when the marginal utility of fourth unit is 0, the total utility is maximum. So from 4 units, the total utility is maximum. From the fourth unit, the total utility is 0. And beyond fourth unit, when the marginal utility is becoming negative, when the marginal utility is becoming negative, you can see the total utility is declining. So the fourth unit of consumption, I would like to call it as the point of satiation, and in the total utility it is the maximum total utility that we are deriving. So this is how we can say, if the consumer increases the consumption of one commodity, keeping constant the consumption of all other commodities, every additional unit of the commodity will give less and less and less of satisfaction. This is what is the crux of the theory of the law of diminishing marginal utility. Moving ahead, this particular law of diminishing marginal utility, friends, is based on certain assumptions, very simple assumptions. So very quickly we'll have a glance over the assumptions. The first assumption is units of commodity are homogeneous. So the gulab jamun which I was speaking about, every gulab jamun that she was offered was of same size, same quality, same taste, everything was same. ऐसा नहीं है कि the first unit was very sweet, the second unit had no sugar, the third unit had more sugar. So this variation in the taste was not there. Every unit of that particular commodity was similar in shape, size, taste and everything. So first assumption of law of diminishing marginal utility is homogeneity of the goods. Then the next assumption is there is no time gap. There is no time gap with regard to consumption. So here we are speaking about the consumption of the commodity has no time interval. ऐसा नहीं है कि the first unit was consumed morning 9 o'clock, the second unit will be given at 11 o'clock and the third unit will be given at 5 o'clock. In this case, what happens? Every unit of the gulab jamun may give the same level of satisfaction. It may give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. So, but if the consumer is given the commodity without any time gap, that is what is, as a consumer increases the consumption of a particular commodity without any time gap, then what will happen? The marginal utility has to decline. The next assumption is the units of the commodity should be of suitable size. What does it mean? If a person is thirsty and instead of giving him a glass of water, if we give him a spoon full of water, what will happen? From the first spoon and from the second spoon, his utility, his marginal utility may actually increase, because spoon is too small in size. It is not a standard size. But if you provide a glass to him, from the first glass of water he may get 6 utils of satisfaction. From the second glass of water, definitely he may get less utils of satisfaction and not more. It may be 5.95 also. It can be anything, but it will be less than 6 utils. So the units of the commodity should be of standard size. It should not be the case that you are giving groundnuts and you are telling, okay, eat the first piece of the groundnut and tell me the satisfaction, then eat the second piece and tell the satisfaction. This will not work, because normally groundnuts are not eaten as 1 piece and 2 pieces, they are eaten in bulk. At a time we eat 2 to 3 groundnuts. So this is the case with regard to commodity. The commodity in question should be of standard size. The next point is the mental situation of the consumer should remain the same. Here when I am speaking about mental situation, I refer to it as the psychic, that is, he should not be intoxicated, he should not be under any drugs, because in case of intoxication or drugs, what happens, the consumer will not be a rational consumer, and he will not be knowing what he is doing. So in such a situation, the law of diminishing marginal utility may not work. And lastly, friends, the taste and preferences of the consumer should remain unchanged. At that process where we are checking the marginal utility, what is assumed is other things remaining constant. What are other things? His taste should remain constant, the fashion should remain constant, his income should remain constant, the price of the commodity should remain constant, and all those things. So based on this particular assumptions, law of diminishing marginal utility is been set up. So after understanding about assumptions, the next part is there are certain exceptions to law of diminishing marginal utility. Criticizers have criticized that this law of diminishing marginal utility will not work in case of alcohol, will not work in case of money, and will not work in case of rare articles. This is what is the criticism, or you can say exceptions. But friends, even with alcohol, there is a point where the consumer of alcohol will say enough, इससे ज़्यादा नहीं होगा. Even with case of money, if a consumer is having 100 rupees and if he gets 10 rupees more, the satisfaction that he had of getting 100 rupees was more compared to the satisfaction that he is having of getting 10 rupees more. And further, if he gets another 1 rupee, from this he will be having hardly any satisfaction. So even with regard to money, howsoever rich the person is, every additional unit of money that is added to his stock, the marginal utility will go on diminishing. With regard to rare articles, they say rare articles, some people are having the hobby of collecting old coins, or they may have the habit of collecting old stamps, or they may have the habit of collecting some old paintings, antiques. Okay, so in this case, if a person has got, let us say, 5 paise coin of Indian coin, 5 paise, so he will get satisfaction. Again, if he gets the same coin of 5 paise, what will happen? He will not have the same level of satisfaction. If he gets 10 paise, 2 paise, 1 paise, his satisfaction may increase. But if he is getting the same denomination paise again and again, definitely his marginal utility will decline. Same is the case with stamps. If that person is getting same stamp again and again, his marginal utility will decline. It may be with regard to painting also. If he is buying an M.F. Hussain painting, with this M.F. Hussain painting he may get tremendous satisfaction. But the next painting that he is buying, again it is of the same painter and the same art. What will happen? Definitely his marginal utility will decline. So for namesake, they have given the exception that it is not applicable for alcohol, money and rare articles. But if you see it very keenly, even in this particular commodities and even with regard to money, we can see the law of marginal utility applies. The marginal utility definitely declines even for alcohol, it declines for money, and it also declines for rare articles. So friends, with this assumptions and exceptions, I have come to end of today's class. I hope you have enjoyed the law of diminishing marginal utility. In my next class, I'll take up law of equi-marginal utility. And as usual, till my next class, take care and thank you very much for being with me and watching my videos, Understanding Economics with Professor Aftab. So stay tuned with my channel. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. And till my next video, stay happy, be cool, see you soon, tata, bye bye.